Welcome guys, today I'm going to do a post-commentary video again, because I tried some midrange TGT Hunter today on ladder, or TGT Midrange Hunter rather, and recorded like my first two games with it, and since I figured that you like the post-commentary like perspective on it, I thought I would do that again for you. So, let's start right away. You can see the list on the right as usual. And my first match was against Priest, which I didn't like too much, to be honest. This deck has, well, basically I wanted to try it because I have a Golden King's Elekk now, and so these are like the things, and I wanted to try like the Wrangler. I mean, it can't always be like the young Dragonhawk it gets, right? And I think Wrangler is a card that has a huge potential, like Bane of Doom, to just give you a huge lead on the board if the beast that it comes out is a good one. And in this particular situation, I keep the Knife Juggler basically because of the Northshire Cleric. It also trades well with a Zombie Chow. So if you get like a Mad Scientist, for example, and play it that way, then you have the problem that the Zombie Chow can trade into your Mad Scientist and then he heals it back up, and or draws a bunch of cards with Northshire Cleric. So I found that keeping Knife Juggler is a good idea, and of course, it got the Cleric. Got punished, maybe, by my Cleric, by my Juggler play. Problem, of course, is he is on the coin, so you could play something like Valence Chosen, might have things like Power Shield. In this case, he just wants to get rid of the Knife Juggler really hard, so he chooses to waste the coin, basically, which is good for my tempo lead. I'm thinking about Animal Companion here, but go for the bow. Because like all these buff spells can easily snowball, and the problem with playing Animal Companion at this particular situation is that Huffer is a really bad card to get. You can deal 4 face damage, and it might even die to like 2 power shields or something, or just a trade. The 2/4, the Leok dies very easily, as well as the 4/4, the Misha. Simply because he can play a spell and trade the Pyromancer in and develop his 3-drop. Whereas if I just play the bow, I have the bow for the next turn, kill the Pyromancer, and can simply wait for what's happening. He doesn't play anything, so I can just develop my 4-drop, which is somewhat easy decision. But after reconsidering, I think that both 2-drops are better because it puts more flexibility on the board.
How many fingers do you see?
Actually, I like this voiceover. So my decision to go for the two 2-drops over the 4-drop is basically based on the fact that both cards lose value if they're played against the Holy Nova. So I wanted to develop them before the Holy Nova because he didn't have the coin anymore. So I might actually get value of it. And the second reason is that I wanted to develop the Mad Scientist, given that I have the bow in my hand and want to have a secret out. So I could like, now in this case I can trade the Scientist into his 3/5 and make it kinda impossible for him to attack because I will get a freezing trap out of it. Slight considerations also, if you play something that I really want to get rid of soon and without using the bow, I could use the Hunter's Mark and trade in the Spider, which is a lot better than just trading in the Shredder, for example. In this particular situation, it turns out to be better also, because you can see that if I played the Shredder and wanted to kill this now, I would either have to get like a Leok from here, which is also a consideration to because Leok gets better with more bodies on the board for obvious reasons. Or I would have to use the Hunter's Mark and trade in the Shredder. Shredder dies, or I play trade the Shredder and my bow, where also the Shredder dies and just leaves me with a 2-drop. But and then I develop these guys, and then they all die to Holy Nova or something. In this case, I can just trade in the Scientist and my bow, for example, if I want to. But my first play is Animal Companion, I guess. Yeah, I'm making all these considerations and this with this mouse movement. But if I get Leo, it might get pretty good. It's 3 and 2, but I still open myself to Holy Nova a little bit because of the 2 Spiderlings, which isn't too bad because my 2/4 would survive anyways. But I don't get the Leok, I get the Huffer, so I have to make some considerations, which definitely includes trading off the Scientist, simply because Holy Nova is just too good on this board. I of course forgot to click my hero power here, and yeah, Holy Nova is still not bad, but it's disastrous if I leave up his thing and leave up my Scientist. This is now quite annoying, because he won't bother like not attacking with his Sludge Belcher. There are a lot of things possible here. I could, for example, like just play the Highmane and trade in both, or could have used my Hunter's Mark. But I feel like it might be some kind of Dragon Priest or maybe Deathlord Priest, and I need to go through this big stuff. He might also play. It might also go to a point where he plays Ysera or something, where I really need a Hunter's Mark. In this case, he unfortunately has the Shadow Word Death, which is kind of bad for me, especially with combination of Pyro, because my stuff dies. At least he doesn't have a second spell like a Power Word Shield that could screw me really over here. I decide that I want to keep at least one of the hyenas alive, which is basically only possible if I use the bow here. Since I will lose one of the hyenas anyways, I attack the slime with it to take less damage. It seems a little bit desperate here for me because my opponent is up quite a few cards, and we are going into late game, and my hand doesn't really look late game-ish. Which basically forces me in this situation to, yeah. So this draw isn't even better, so I decide to go for the desperate I'll have to burst him down in time play. Because he won't just attack with his taunt as long as there is a taunt, so I decided to just fully go for it and try to burst him down, because I won't win the value game. I won't win the control game here. But I might win the burst game if his draws are not great and mine get better. And I wanted to trade in my bow instead of, for example, the Shredder, simply because Holy Nova is still a thing. Light Bomb might also be a thing, so these things have to be considered. So I want to have something that sticks even if it gets killed. My opponent just, well, you can see it, he clears a little bit. Well, Haunted Creeper isn't quite what I'm looking for at this moment. And I can't really kill the Arcanine, but I have to make sure that he doesn't freeze his Light Warden to just like get rid of my freezing trap easily, and to because he can replay it for 3. If he wants to replay the Arcanine, if it gets frozen, he needs to replay it for 6. Also, I cannot kill the Arcanine at this moment, which is also like a thing. So I could kill this basically for free. Yeah, which made me make this trade. Goes for the kill, which is quite good. At this moment, I think I wish like I had a Bear Trap, for example, so that the Death Rattle of the Mad Scientist wouldn't go off without doing anything, but still okay. The problem is I don't see myself winning from here. for obvious reasons. I have no cards and my opponent has 4 plus the 1 on the board. But he doesn't have the great answers either. And there's a card that at least like pushes for some damage, puts up a 4 attack creature that he cannot get rid of that easily. It doesn't really contest the injured Blightmaster, but at least it stops it for a second and makes it more vulnerable for future play, so you might be inclined to heal that. So it pops the spider, so let's see what the next answer is. A light bomb. So that's a clear. Assume he will heal himself, exactly. So it goes up to 12. And this quick shot is a pretty good draw actually. Because I can just...
Well played.
Ow, yeah. Deal 3 damage and draw a second card. Which happens to be Dr. Boom. So I kinda hope that at this moment that he doesn't have like the second Shadow Word Death to punish me here. But even then the boombots can still screw him over if he doesn't have a good answer. Like maybe a second Light of the Narrow or Flash Shields. So he got it off the top. Which is kind of unfortunate, but still, like, there's the slight potential of the boobots hitting him for 8 or 7 if I just trade both into the Savannahs. But it's not very likely, so I decide that I should go for the King's Elekk, exactly. Which happens to give me Savannah Highmane. So you can see that the last few draws were really going in my way. And the good thing is, like, if he trades his Sylvanas into my Highmane, for example, then he won't get one of the hyenas because the death rattle won't go off. And he basically would need to steal. Let's put it a different way. If he Holy Novas, which he could after trading into my Highmane, he still needs to get rid of the boombots, and he can go up to like 9 with Holy Nova and heal. This of course makes it pretty clear that he might easily die here.
Embrace the void.
Now he can't heal himself. Okay. Honest Sudoku. So I think this matchup in general wasn't really in my favor. The draws didn't really work out for me in the first place. But during the last few turns, he either didn't play it well or he didn't have the sufficient answers that he needed to stabilize. Whereas I got pretty good draws with the one quick shot in my deck that drew myself into Dr. Boom, and the King's Elekk, which drew into Savannah Highmane. So I got pretty lucky in that, and I don't really feel that this was a deserved win, but of course they happen.
Watch your back.
Let the hunt.
I haven't seen many rogues today, and during the last time, and you never know like what they exactly play. But I'm keeping this whole hand because I'm going first, but I can't really go for a 1-drop because my only 1-drop is 1 Webspinner in the deck, which is like way too greedy. So I play myself from turn 2 on, and Mad Scientist is pretty good as a turn 2, for obviously, but especially with an Eaglehorn bow. And the Eaglehorn bow also fits a role against all common 3-drops in Rogue, as long as it's not like Mech Rogue, where he might play Spider Tank. So I can kill SI7s and Earthring Farseers and so on. And I'm also keeping the Animal Companion because it might be that he just daggers up turn 2, or that he, I don't know, backstabs my Mad Scientist. So I want to develop my board rather than just a weapon turn 3. So I'm keeping this whole hand, and I'm pretty happy with that. Like the only thing that would have made it better would have been a Webspinner top deck instead of an Unleash top deck.
I'll show them all.
So that's exactly like I said. He could have coined out an SI7 agent, for example. Then I could have killed it with bow. Now he just killed my stuff and daggered up, which means Animal Companion for me. Which is of course Leokk, which isn't that great, but it's fine. Didn't play the Juggler basically because I can play Juggler and Scientist on 4 if I want to. Yeah, in this case it wouldn't have made any difference if it was Misha or Leokk. So he just killed it and I have the bow now. Which is the reason why I kept it in the first place. Even though it's a little bit off curve. And probably the next play will also be off curve with a Juggler and one of the 2-drops. Probably King's Elekk, since I still have a secret up anyways. And if nothing changes, then I probably hope to get a good juggle. Because I don't want my guys to die to a spell-powered Fan of Knives, for example. So in this case I just go for the tempo play, because in Rogue there aren't many big minions that you usually want to Hunter's Mark. And the game plan is still to get my foot on the board and not letting him get the board. So in this case there's like maybe something like Emperor Thorson or something, but usually, or maybe probably more likely is Violet Teacher, so it doesn't go above 5 health. So getting the Hunter's Mark on a thing that I could actually juggle down here with 4 health is actually quite worth it, I think. I'm also getting a Highmane from this King's Elekk, and I tested and see that this Azure Drake will die, so went quite in my favor this turn. I will probably play the Savannah Highmane next turn, because it forces him to have sap. It kind of depends on this turn, of course, but if he doesn't like get in a good position here, then the Highmane forces him to have sap, and even if he does that, I can still I still have a board. My board is quite small though, but I still have a board. And if he doesn't have sap, then the Highmane is quite scary. I'm a little bit afraid that he plays Assassin's Bite though, because it will get at least 9 damage in during the next 3 turns if I can kill him in time. And I don't have any reach in my hand, so it's actually likely that he can get full value from that. Can I expect the sprint here? Which it isn't though. It's just this ice starter. To set up a Tinker's, which makes the 3 charge Assassin's Blade way scarier. The only good thing about this position is that he doesn't seem to have a sap right now, so I can just continue to attack with my Highmane. One problem is that he might have like 1 charger in his deck, a Sophsy deckhand to trigger the trap. Otherwise, my trap protects me from a 6-3 very well, and I don't have an easy way to get rid of it without taking the damage. So it doesn't really matter if I hit it with bow or if he manages to like trigger the freezing trap and hit me with his SI7 agent. So the only thing that I want to do here is develop my board even further. Drawing first, getting nothing. Probably a questionable Shredder setup, but I suggest, like, I assume that his way to come back into this game is a big flurry now with this weapon. So I could deal like 12 damage right away to my face, and then my board is basically non-existing anyways. The weapon gets even further, so he could, with a flurry he could deal 16 damage and get rid of most of my board. He decides to play the heal bot instead, so I think that he neither has a sap or a flurry, and that he wants to kill me the next turn, basically. Which would be possible because he has an 8 attack weapon now, so he would only need 3 more damage. But the Houndmaster draw is pretty good for me, because I can set up a taunt. And like even if he can, because he didn't seem to have a flurry, And without a flurry, he won't be able to get through the taunt if I taunt up my Highmane. Even even with his 6-3, so even if he managed to pick up like a South Sea deckhand, the 6 damage are not enough, so he would need something else, like maybe backstab and South Sea deckhand. But his hand is obviously not too big, so he cannot hold everything. He got a sprint, but he also played like one preparation, I think, already. So it's kind of unlikely for him to get like all the stuff that he needs to play right now. And he got he had the deckhand, but he is not able to go through this Savannah Highmane without any mana right now. He could go through it and deal 6 damage to my face, but that's not enough. So he would need like a prep eviscerate, and even then, it's not enough. So he gives up 2 very nice games here. And a good start with the mid-range hunter in TGT. The deck in general doesn't look very different than the old lists. The King's Elekks make a little bit up for, how should I say, for the lack of card draw the deck usually has. So we saw it in exactly this game, in the Priest game, that hunters can run out of steam if they get answered efficiently. So the King's Elekk drew me into Savannah Highmane and managed to get me the resources that I needed. So you could argue that a loot hoarder might have been in the place before, but the good thing about the King's Elekk is, first, it has better stats than loot hoarder does, and second, it is a beast, so it enables cards like Wrangler and Houndmaster to be even better and less situational, basically, because you run more beasts. So I like this list a lot. I think it's quite refined already. I'm not sure if I would make any changes to it right now. You basically always have the problem of like 2 scientists with only like 1 sort of trap. So I could imagine to run something like a snake trap or a bear trap also in the deck. The problem is there are not many cards to cut. Maybe the Webspinner, this might be a thing, but the Webspinner is kind of nice to like fill out the curve, put something on the board that gives you something else back, and that you can combo with cards like Wrangler at maybe turn 6 even, or Houndmaster turn 5. So I like having like one of these filler cards, and I don't really would recommend to cut the Quickshot, I think, because Quickshot is one of the few fast answers in the early game if something bad happens. Something like a Death Lord, or something like the new Druid card, the 2/3, the Darnassus Aspirant, that gives your opponent a mana crystal. So if you want to have a fast response to cards like these, or maybe a Knife Juggler, then having like one option to get a fast response by turn 2 might be quite a way to go, and it's way better to draw a quick shot in the early game than drawing like a bear trap usually. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Maybe leave a like or a comment, and I'll see you around next time. And I can announce that another post-commentary video against Cho is going to be released soon also. Have a nice day. Bye bye.